The way we've conceived it, it's three courses taught over the course of 1.5 years. Okay. The signs versus houses course is the one that we're starting in 2 weeks. Then the second course is the aspects and aspect patterns course. That one's going to be and I'll get into it later on, but that's a much longer course. It's a year-long course. And then there's the seven-step chart reading formula course, which is another 4-week course. So the goal of this series of courses is to learn how to read natal charts better, right? In a way that actually makes sense. It's really to strengthen your technical skills. That's the heart of it. We've organized it this way in terms of signs versus houses because these are really building blocks of interpretation. Then we go into exploring aspects and patterns because that shows you how the different building blocks interact. And then seven-step chart reading formula, which is about integrating and synthesizing what you read in a chart to make sense of it. This is the one that we're starting now. Like I said, we'll be getting into more detail about it. The focus is not to teach you the meaning of each of all the signs and all of the houses, but rather to help you clarify the conceptual difference between signs and houses and helping you practice how to interpret understanding this difference. And like I said, sorry, that signs versus houses one is a 4-week course. The aspects and patterns course, this is a 1-year program. So some of you, for example, you're in our houses 1-year program already. This is the one that's going to follow that structure. And here what we're going to be doing is deep dives into one aspect or one aspect pattern each month from March of 26 to February of 27. And then there is the seven-step chart reading formula. This one too will be a 4-week course. We've taught it before as a 3-week course. Some of you have already been exposed to it. And the idea here really is it's all about synthesis. This is the part that's hardest, I think, for a lot of astrologers is how to synthesize the information that they see, even once they understand the meaning of the different parts. And the idea is that after a year and a half of study and practice, you're gonna be able to read charts, with confidence and accuracy, right? That's the whole goal. And so you can join the whole track right now at a 20% discount, or you can enroll individually in each course before they start. And so I'll go a little bit more into depth about what exactly we're going to be doing in this class. So it's a 1-month course, 4-week course, really, with 4 modules and weekly calls and content. The reason that we're starting with this one is because signs and houses, this is that kind of entry point into natal chart reading. And in many astrology books, lots of online content, signs and houses, they get bundled together and described as if they were the same thing, right? You'll read titles like, what Mars in Gemini / the third house reveals about you, right? Or if you have your, North Node in Aries or the first house, then blah description, right? And the description will be the same if you're Aries or first house. And those of you who have been digesting natal chart astrology for some time have come across this already. And I always think to myself, like poor Libra ascendants must get so confused because everything's always backwards for them. They, it's like anything they have in their second house, they're getting, if it's second or eighth house. So the whole point here is to help clarify this fuzzy topic and, try to start to understand what exactly the difference is. The idea is that signs and houses really play very distinct roles in the chart. And the practice of starting to understand the distinct roles that they play is going to help you start to really strengthen your interpretation and strengthen your understanding of the meaning of both the signs and the houses. So the next one's the aspects and aspect patterns course. And this one is similar in terms of content in that there's live webinars, there's theory lessons, there's opportunity for practice, but it's spread out over the course of a year. Okay. So there'll be 12 modules and 12 monthly calls. It's complex, you'll see one planet and you'll see all these different aspects coming out of it. And, how do you make sense of it? What does it mean for that Mars in Capricorn to have a trine here, a square there, And so this is why, you sometimes we see this and we get just overwhelmed by the amount of information. And the idea of the course is really to help you start figuring out strategies and feeling confident in your understanding of what the different aspects mean so you can start untangling that knot of interpretation. And this is why it's also spread out over the course of a year, because each month we're going to analyze in depth one aspect or aspect pattern. We'll focus specifically on like the meaning of just the aspect itself, right? What exactly does a square mean? Why does it follow a trine? How is a square different from an opposition or other aspects, right? Then we'll talk about, okay, well, you have a square, but what does it mean that these two planets are in square, right? What functions of the psyche are being activated? What does it mean when they're in a square versus, again, in opposition or whatever else? And then trying to layer in the signs and the houses as well. So, this is the idea of like every month having lots of time to start wrapping your head around this quite complex piece of chart interpretation. This is the general structure of the course. So, like I say, every month we'll be focusing on one of the aspects. We'll start with the conjunction, go into opposition in April, then into trine, square, sextile. And then the second half of the year, we'll focus on the aspect patterns. And then the third course in the program is the 7-step chart reading formula course. And here we teach you 7 steps that you can use so that you can synthesize all the information you see in a chart. It's one of our most popular courses, and really because it does start trying to bring together all of the different elements of the chart in interpretation. What to expect from our courses. So, a lot of you have taken our courses already, some of you haven't. So, just to give you a sense of how we teach, we use tutorials, frameworks, case studies, practical exercises, quizzes. Okay. The 4-week courses, this is our structure that we've settled into after trying lots of different variations of it over the years. But generally on Mondays, the module starts, and that's where you get the access to the pre-recorded material. These are short videos. They also have transcripts. So you can always, I know some people like to read their material, some people like to watch their material. We always have these downloadable transcripts for those of you who like to print things out. Like I know I have a lot of people who've taken a lot of our course. We have little binders full of our course transcripts. Then on Tuesdays, I teach the main webinar. These are 75 minutes long, which are usually 90 minutes. If you can't make them live, they are recorded, or if you don't want to make them live, they are recorded. You can always watch them in your own time. But we do offer them at 2 different time zones. So I do think that there's something about being at a live course usually that keeps you more engaged, that helps you follow through on the material. So it's usually better if you can make them live. We always offer them at 2 different times to suit time zones around the world. We have lots of students in obviously the US, lots in Europe, and lots in Australia, New Zealand. And then on Wednesdays through Saturday, you get to catch up on the videos that you haven't seen yet. Then you get to practice. We put out little quizzes, little exercises. And so these are all on the platform that you can go in and watch. The platform also has places where you can ask questions in writing, and we tend to be quite good about answering your questions there as well. So there is this element of receiving feedback. And then on Sundays, we'll have the practice and integration calls run by Deborah for this, at least for the Houses and Signs one. And again, will be offered at 2 different times. Deborah's in the US, so her 2 times are US friendly. My 2 times are Europe friendly. So 1 p.m. and 8 p.m. New York time.